It's been almost 2 years since Bali was forced to close to foreign tourists, but after a few false starts, the first direct international flight with tourists on board has finally landed on the resort island. It's not quite the reopening Balinese had hoped for, though. Only a handful of foreign travellers were on board, and with COVID cases rising again across the Indonesian archipelago, as well as tough quarantine rules, it could still be months before international tourism rebounds to anything like what it was. Indonesia correspondent Ann Barker reports.
Bali turned on the treatment when Garuda Flight 811 arrived from Tokyo last night, welcoming the plane with water cannons to celebrate the first direct flight carrying foreign tourists to Bali in almost 2 years. Though just 8 Japanese were on board, and they weren't even tourists, 6 were travel agents and 2 journalists, their tickets and accommodation paid by the airline and Indonesian government.
Kami berharap
we hope tourists from other countries can follow suit and come to Bali.
These travellers weren't deterred by the latest surge of COVID-19 infections in Bali or the strict rules requiring PCR tests, full vaccination and expensive medical insurance in case they fall ill. Nor were they put off at having to quarantine at a 5-star resort where they're free to leave their rooms and use the pool, gym and hotel restaurants.
5 hari 4 malam.
Our package is 5 days and 4 nights with interesting benefits, and we offer activities for tourists at affordable prices.
For the first time, even Australians are now allowed back into Bali, though in reality there are still no direct flights. Jetstar and Qantas have tentatively scheduled flights in March from Sydney and Melbourne, but are still waiting for Indonesia's approval. Before the pandemic, more than 1 million Aussies a year visited the holiday island. The loss of 6 million tourists a year has cost tens of thousands of jobs and devastated Bali's economy.
I desperately hope our Australian friends can come to Bali as soon as possible and help restore our economy.
From this month, there'll be weekly flights from Japan and Singapore. By next week, these Japanese travellers will be free to leave their hotel and travel around Bali, but they face more restrictions when they return home. On landing in Tokyo, they'll have to isolate for another 7 days. Ann Barker, ABC News.